All right, Mountaineer Nation, thanks for tuning in to this more unconventional edition of Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports. Unfortunately, left my power cord to my laptop at work, so oh dear, my computer with all of my notes prepared for today's show on my computer underneath my phone, but got it kind of propped up here. So still looks pretty good. I hope it sounds good. Might be a little bit different than what I usually do for my video. So I'm just really going to go off the cuff. Got some notes at least written down here on my handy dandy note card for at least from the statistics, because I know most of the what's off the top of my head of the news of the day. So another wild day in the transfer portal recruiting. I feel like I'm gonna have to do one of these hits every single night for like the next week or so, leading up to the closing of the transfer portal on January 16th. So starting it right off in the morning, we got the news that DJ Epps, senior wide receiver from Troy, had committed to West Virginia about a day or 2 days later than when Prince Strachan of USC committed. So that's now two wide receivers for the Mountaineers committed in their transfer portal recruiting journey. DJ Epps, 6'1", 185 pounds, kinds of what you would kind of put together, I would say, is like a Rodney Gallagher replacement. A little bit on the thinner side. Not, of course, obviously the 6'5", 215-pound outside receiver that Strachan is. So you're thinking that Epps might slot into maybe, slot position receiver. What I think that I'm happiest about getting DJ Epps, me being a special teams junkie, the third phase of the game that's often overlooked. 23 kickoff returns on the season this past year for 554 yards. That's a 24.1 yards per return average. West Virginia was going to need this. I think this was something that was often overlooked. And when comparing Epps versus Gallagher, I've been trying to say for years, I feel like, that I thought that the first and biggest impact that Rodney Gallagher would have made for this West Virginia program was in the special teams department. Returning, kickoffs, punt returns, did a little bit of that, but it just never really took off. Just seemed like he was being used more so to just call fair catches, especially when Preston Fox was dealing with his injury issues in 2025. Never was ever able to truly take over from Preston Fox. So I think Epps is going to be that guy. He's going to be that slot receiver. 47 catches, 512 yards on 72 targets for the year, 5 touchdowns in 14 games played. So productive. I don't think that West Virginia is going to need him to contribute much more than that. If he can kind of be that Swiss Army knife between receiving and kickoff return duties, maybe can play an impact on punt returning duties too. Would love to have him, and West Virginia's getting him in an old gold and blue uniform for this upcoming season. So love that first move. Then the atom bomb dropped in this afternoon. First was reported by Andrew Corbett over at 247 Ear Sports. So good on them for releasing the news a little bit prior than when Cam Cook officially announced it. So I wanted to wait and see until I was going to perhaps do this video kind of earlier in the evening, last evening, but got his commitment. It was right around 5 o'clock, I want to say, p.m. And this was huge. This was with Jaheim White being, exported to the transfer portal. And I know he's already taken an official visit to North Texas. So if he goes down to the G5 level to try and reinvent himself in 2026, or he finds another Power 4 program out there, West Virginia had a gaping hole on this team at starting running back. And I thought that West Virginia, perhaps with a lot of guys who are comparable size to Cam Cook, West Virginia might go into the bigger back department, a la the same kind of lines as a C.J. Donaldson, or even as we saw this past season with Curtis Jones playing both sides of the ball. If West Virginia wanted to go with a bigger back, and that's one of the things that I love, big backs, big defensive linemen. But instead, West Virginia has now invested in arguably the most productive running back of the 2025 season. I can't wait to see what he can do in 2026. 295 carries, 1,659 rushing yards, 16 touchdowns on the ground, 30 catches, 286 yards. So that's 1945 all-purpose between rushing and receiving. Now, that's a lot of tread worn off the tires. So I can understand, and he had over 100 carries his sophomore year at TCU, and I think he had a few dozen his true freshman season at TCU. So Cam Cook's got a lot of wear and tear, but you gotta love how it feels as if he will just be a day one plug-and-play starter. Already knows pretty much this offense coming over from Jacksonville State, which was pretty much running exactly what Coach Rodriguez laid the groundwork for in 2023-24. And then also coming over with offensive line coach Rick Trickett. So knows Cam's abilities. I think they kind of speak for themselves. Seeing some of the statistics that have been put out there on social media. You got to be following Twitter basically 24 hours a day to keep up with this news. It's fantastic what comes out of guys. I think what I liked seeing the most was Cam Scatabo for ASU in 2024 broke 103 tackles. He's now in the NFL and was a sensation before his traumatic injury with the Giants. Cam Cook broke 100 tackles this season. He is just an absolute workhorse. He is of that same kind of caliber. Will that translate to the Power 4 level? That is what's to be seen, and I would say absolutely. It's not like, and I know we got the opponents not necessarily in the order of each week for 2026 just yet, but we know who West Virginia is playing because of their Big 12 scheduling matrix. And then, of course, Coastal Carolina. Who's their other opponent? I don't know off the top of my head. Southern Miss, maybe, and then Virginia. That is not that hard of a schedule for this year. But what I would have to say now, this puts even more pressure, I feel like, on West Virginia's transfer portal recruiting staff to go out there and build us fans a line. You have to be able to get a push up front, as we saw from this past season. And I like what West Virginia has done in retaining, at least for right now. I know things can move, but probably retaining Nick Cray at left tackle, retaining Landon Livingston at center, and you're bringing in a 4/5 star right tackle and Kevin Brown, who I'm sure is either going to be a day one starter, or West Virginia can bring in another tackle in as a backup in the transfer portal, who might start that first week just to take the pressure off Kevin Brown, that Kevin Brown will eventually succeed over, and then West Virginia can have a swing tackle insurance policy. Either of that or it's Malik Agbo for this upcoming season, who then Kevin Brown will eventually take over for at that starting right tackle position in the same kind of fashion that Wyatt Milam did during his freshman season. So West Virginia really needs to go out there now with Donovan Haslam hitting the transfer portal and get some serious guards, get some maulers. I already talked about in yesterday's show that they're bringing in Wes King, who has never allowed a sack in his collegiate career from Wyoming. He would be a great plug-and-play fit, and if West Virginia can go out there and get another mauler. So I think everybody's going to get better just by bringing in Coach Rick Trickett and getting another whole year into the system, strength and conditioning program. But if West Virginia can go out there and get talent at that two guard positions, then really the sky is the limit to either have Michael Hawkins at quarterback, Scotty Fox at quarterback, with Cam Cook alongside them and a lot of other guys in the stable, whether that's Martavius Boswell, Amari Latimer, or another one of the freshmen. And then if they can still find a bona fide number one wide receiver, Strachan, Epps, two of these JUCO guys to play with, retaining Ryan Ward, the tight end, saw that kind of come through late. They posted like year 3 downloading or something like that on social media. So expecting him to be at the tight end position. I think West Virginia can go out there and go get another one to bolster that room with, I think, Noah Bram now entering the transfer portal. So not a lot of depth other than just true freshmen coming in at that tight end position. So this offense is starting to come together, slowly but surely. But the big cornerstone piece being Cook. So that was huge the day after Michael Hawkins at the quarterback position. So absolutely love that. What I also think that this just proves, and which is a great thing, is that West Virginia has the resources to compete in transfer portal recruiting. They're going out there and they're swinging a big stick. So, you see commits like Troy, who was the other one, a UT Permian Basin, Will LeBlanc the first day. No, West Virginia is going out there and getting power forward players and highly productive ones out of the G6 that other competing programs like Tennessee, where he visited today, are going after these players. So they're swinging a big stick. They have a bag. They are willing to spend. That should give Mountaineer fans a lot of confidence and inspiration to go out there and support. And then the other thing is, I feel like it's kind of hard. I feel like transfer portal recruiting is somewhat like purchasing a house. If any of y'all have done it, is that you're playing the market and hopefully you don't have buyer's remorse. You want to be early. And I think that it can kind of roll with momentum. You saw this with Texas Tech last year. They got one transfer portal commit, and then it just seemed like it, steamrolled from there, that they were pulling in 2, 3, 4. They were building up this just incredible class. Oregon kind of did the same thing, but Texas Tech received the most national notoriety for it. So I feel like if West Virginia can do that, bringing in Gamir Latimer, bringing in the Hawkins brothers from Oklahoma, now bringing in Cam Cook, I think that tells some other players in the transfer portal, like, hey, West Virginia might be someone that, because they're all talking, their agents are all working. I'm sure, they're all putting together their lists of schools that they want to visit, they want to hear. They're scrolling on their social media. They're seeing these players go left and right out of the transfer portal, and seeing West Virginia stack up talent. It's like, maybe I'll consider them. At least I'll have a conversation. I'll listen. I'd love to be in that war room. I'd love to be in the trenches with this staff right now. What's happening? You hope that you don't buy early, and then more players come available down the line. It's like, oh crap, I'd like to have here instead. Perfect case in point. I feel like I think it was Ohio State now just brought over a transfer running back a day or two after, I think it was this past weekend, the running back Quentin Martin, who was, I think next year will either be a redshirt sophomore or redshirt junior, for Penn State, says he's going to be staying. So now Penn State goes out there and kind of recruits over him with this other high caliber running back, with the transfer portal still being open till next Friday. Does that potentially make waves for a guy like Quentin Martin to say, hey, I don't want to have to go and compete with this guy. I would much rather test free agency in the transfer portal because really nothing's tying me to there. Other than, I think some of these, this is what's popped off in college football tonight, is this Demon Williams from Washington apparently signed a contract with the Huskies to come back, and now is later saying he's entering the transfer portal. So it is absolute chaos. It's nuts. It's the Wild West out there, and you hope that West Virginia can go and make the necessary moves to be able to protect itself from because you only get one shot with this year. You get these 2 weeks here in January. There's no spring portal season, and players can still linger into the spring semester, but then they're also looking for other options. So whether then that comes at lesser levels down the road, West Virginia can obviously pull guys out of the if they go uncommitted through the spring and then wait to see how it plays out over the summer. That's very radical, because then you might not potentially have a home for 2026. But I think there is such a massive amount of players in the transfer portal that there will be guys that don't go committed. I don't know. I might be off my rocker here. But just to say is, West Virginia needs to go out there and target players that are best fits. And then once they've made their purchase, they need to move on, not have any sort of buyer's remorse, second thoughts. Oh, an option that might be cheaper comes out into the transfer portal. It's over. It's done and past. Try and build the best team that you can as of right now. The last move that was made, I think, was a move made because of a returner saying he's hitting the portal, and that'd be Ben Bogle. I really like Ben Bogle. Really thought he kind of came around in the later half of the season once he started to adjust to the Power 4 level, the speed, Starting to understand Zach Alley's system. West Virginia obviously didn't need him to be a true starter. Was kind of like the second rotation in with Reed Carrico and Wilson. First name escapes me off the top of my head. Again, not having any notes here. When those guys needed to come off the field for a breather, rotating in Ben Bogle, Ben Cutter before he got injured, Ashton Woods. I thought that was then an opportunity of those three because Ashton Woods went down with a shoulder injury. Ben Bogle was kind of like the leader in the pack to be a part of rotation 1 for 2026. Now, West Virginia is going after quite a few linebackers in the transfer portal. So does this mean that there's more turnover coming at that position? Talked about it yesterday, bringing over Isaiah Patterson over from UNLV. You have 4 true freshmen coming in, also retaining Cam Torbor, who was a redshirt freshman this past season, didn't play. So still have Ben Cutter as a senior, so you'd hope that he will compete and contend for a starting position in his last year in Morgantown. Great special teamer. And if he was just a few inches taller, I feel like, and just didn't over-pursue the ball every single freaking play, I feel like would be a really, really good linebacker. But so for now, Ben Bogle, better linebacker of the two, hitting the transfer portal. West Virginia replaces him with Malachi Hood, 6'2", 235, redshirt senior linebacker from Illinois. So going back to that point that I said about Power 4 talent that West Virginia is bringing in. Played 12 games for the Illini, who had an underwhelming season, I would feel like, to what their expectations were of trying to compete for the Big Ten title this season. 39 tackles, tackle and a half for loss, pass breakup, forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. So very productive for a guy who missed the first two seasons of his collegiate career, one for not playing and just redshirting, then with a season-ending injury in training camp in 2024. And then, 2023, had started to contribute in 2024 and then boom, really popped off in 2025 with the numbers that I just gave you. So I think he's on a bit of an ascension, kind of West Virginia buying into these players who are on their upside. Same with DJ Epps, going back to him, guy who had sparing playing time at Troy for his first couple of seasons, then kind of contributed a little bit as a sophomore, boom, as a junior, 47 catches, and all the numbers that I already gave you. So West Virginia is buying on these players who might be peaking within their final season worth of eligibility. That's the way you do it. That's the way you have to do it in transfer portal recruiting. It's not, if you're wanting plug-and-play starters, you want to get guys who have who are kind of coming on their upswing, or if you want, in the case of like Malik Hawkins, extra years worth of eligibility for development. Now, whether those players retain, that's what we're seeing in college football, is there's no way to retain anybody because nobody has loyalty. They're doing what's best for themselves, and they're on one-year deals. Oh, man, college football. It's just absolutely chaotic and crazy. So what an interesting, I feel like, day in transfer portal recruiting. We'll see what Wednesday brings. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, before I go, oh my gosh, I know this is a football video, and I know based upon the analytics of my videos, it seems like, and I know I talk more football, so part of the algorithm, if you're subscribed to me and you want to listen to a lot of football talk, that's what I bring to you, over the majority of the time. But basketball, I know, still been a part of this channel for the last couple of years, and I love talking Mountaineer basketball. But oh my gosh, I watched tonight's game, 62-60. That was about as ugly, nearly feeling like a loss win, I feel like that I've felt watching in a very long time. That just did not make me feel good about any more prospects for the rest of this season. This team is so flawed. I felt like an old saying that my dad and I all, is a foxism, I feel like, in our family. It felt like the blind were fighting the deaf out there. And thankfully that West Virginia, even on such a terrible inbounding pass where you only have to expel a second and a half or 1.9 seconds left off the clock to kill it to win, and West Virginia still almost freaking blows it. Oh my gosh, like as Amir Jenkins was fouling, wasting time to, foul Cincinnati there. Oh, just I was just ready to puke. And then just so much during that game. The turnovers, the unnecessary ticky-tack fouls that, yes, it was just kind of called that way, so I'm putting some of the responsibility on the Big 12 officials, but I'm also just so many dumb, stupid things. Harlan Obioha is a train wreck. Unfortunately, I don't think Trey Eaglestaff is that far behind him. I mean, I keep trying to give these guys the benefit of the doubt, and just every single time they touch the ball, I just think they're either going to turn the ball over, they're not making the shot, or they're just going to do something so stupid that you would just rather of them just, kicked it back out and never touched the ball to begin with. And it just seems like, man, I'm not to the point of feeling bad yet for Honor Huff, but it just seems so discombobulated. I would have hoped that this team would be, have a little bit more continuity with their offense, and it's pretty much proving me to the point now after watching the Iowa State game and then watching this game that the chances of West Virginia, going a little bit more aggressive, maybe picking up at 3/4 court, maybe not a true full court press, but really attacking on the defensive side of the ball and the aspect of trying to run in transition and create offense that way. That's not the way Coach Drossage wants to. He wants to bring the ball up slowly, run a half-court offense like Bob Huggins did in his later years. And right now, I don't see much semblance of an offense. And again, and all of these just ancillary things, the turnovers, namely, the just stupid fouls and free throw shooting, it just makes it seem like West Virginia is just not a very good basketball team as of right now. And like by this point in time in conference season, this is where like, hey, you got to be ready to go. You got to be able to go out there and put your best foot forward. Now, anything can happen on any given night. That's the beauty of college basketball. Anybody can beat anybody, it seems like, in conference play at the Power 4 level. So they might come out here this upcoming Saturday and beat Kansas, and that would be absolutely fan-freaking-tastic because I always love beating those Payhawks, especially in Morgantown. But just after watching it up to this point in time of the season, it's just really hard. I feel like you're just watching a team that's really in its infancy right now, and they're a bunch of older players on the team. So it's not like they're going to get much better than what you're currently seeing. And it's just like, man, and guys in Trey Eaglestaff and Harlan Obioha, just I'm like, oh my gosh. I would just rather see West Virginia find alternatives. Giving more minutes to Jackson Fields, play more DJ Thomas. I'm fine if he wants to play the 5, bigger body in him, and then West Virginia go to Chance Moore and just bring those guys off the bench. Because I don't know, they're bringing the rest of the guys around them down. I feel like it's not perfect. I mean, Jasper Floyd didn't have another good game, but it's just like those are the guys who are really, I feel like, bringing the team right down right now. So I'm hoping for the best. I don't have really high expectations now moving forward, I feel like, for the basketball team, but I hope they can surprise me. So thanks for tuning in for this edition. Again, unconventional Fox on West Virginia Mountaineer Sports. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog that I do this each and every week, sometimes even each and every day to talk about transfer portal recruiting. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hail West Virginia. Let's go. Spot the ball. And hopefully tomorrow I have my power cord, so we'll be back to a computer look and feel to this. So thanks.